Put on and taking a little bit of time out of your day to meet Karen Clark. We're excited to have Karen on, and Karen's out of the Sonoma County area. She's a best-selling author with two great books of how to use social media on your network marketing journey and what to do, what not to do, some great strategies. So welcome, Karen. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here and share what I know. I've got a lot of tips to share to help people grow their business.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. So let's get a little bit of a background. What made you write the book, or what, were you in a network marketing business, or just give us a little background of why this all happened?
Yeah. Great question. So, I have this story of when I was in the field, which I was in a direct selling party plan business back in 1998, which, as you know, in the internet world, that is like dinosaur age, right? Long, like we were still getting those big floppy disks in the mail from AOL and stuff like that, right? So anyway, I had just started a direct selling business, and my husband at the time was in the military, and we got transferred right away. And I was like, what am I going to do? I just started this thing. It's going great. And my cousin, who was a web designer, said, why don't you use the internet to market your business? And I thought, oh, okay. Because I had kind of been dabbling with some, website stuff. And so I did that. So I started using the internet very, very early on, before most companies even allowed it, much less had their own website or shopping carts yet. Right. It was very, very new, because the industry in general has always been fearful of losing that person to person relationship, because the computers, it just changed the industry, really. But anyway, what I found is there's ways that you can build relationships with people near and far. And I started opening up teams all over the place where the company did not even exist yet, because people were searching for income opportunities online. So fast forward, I ended up, rising straight to the top of that company very quickly, ended up going corporate for a little while. And by the way, left that guy behind. That's a whole nother story, but I'm on to a new relationship now. And anyway, about 2008, I kind of, sometimes you get to a point where you outgrow a company in certain ways. And I had gotten to that point and didn't really feel like there was another company that was a fit for me. And people said, why don't you just teach people how to do that internet thing that you've been doing? And I was like, okay. But so, I started a little party plan business myself, and I called them Bring Your Own Laptop Parties. So I would have people come over. We'd have wine and websites, breakfast and blogging. It was really cool. And I teach them how to do internet and social media and all of that. And then I discovered the National Speakers Association, and I started reaching out to companies to speak at their events. And that's when my business really took off. And I've been doing that since about 2009. So I go into events. I also will produce videos and things like that. And so the book came about because I have all this stuff in my head. I've always been very tech oriented. So even like I said, back when I was building my own personal business, I had kind of 50% offline. I was doing events. I was doing home parties. I was meeting people for coffee and all that, building local team and doing the internet stuff. I always was very curious in trying out the latest things and seeing what works and what didn't work online. And so I've always thought I need to get this on paper, but I waited for a very long time because things changed so quickly. I thought, how dumb is that to write a book? It's going to be out of date before the book is even published, right? So I met a lady who does books, and she says, no, you can update it anytime. You just re-upload the file. And so she helped me get the book written. So let's see, it was end of 2015. I released my first book, which is Social Media for Direct Sales Representatives. So this is kind of like the bulk basics, everything anybody that's no matter what level in the business you're in can use. So all about the platforms and best practices. And then a year later, I got to finish it with everything else that's in my head that didn't fit in the first book, which is all about leaders. So this one's Social Media for Direct Selling Leaders, how to support your team, how to do online trainings and all that kind of stuff. So then this year, I just released an update to the first one. So my plan is that every other year, I will re-release an entire new book so that anything that's been changed a lot or new things that have come about, when there's enough of a difference to warrant redoing the book, I will do that. But in the meantime, in the off years, I still update the interior. So anyway, so it's been really great. I feel like it's kind of like a nice resource that people can look at for how-tos. And it's really helped for people who are onboarding new people who they've never been in business before. They don't know how to market themselves, but you really want them to do it in a way that isn't just kind of shouting it from the mountaintops,
Right.
That kind of stuff.
What platforms are covered in your books? What social media platforms?
Yeah, so it's mostly Facebook because that's kind of the easiest. It's where most people are familiar with. It also covers Twitter. Twitter's not my favorite, but it does cover Twitter. It used to be much, much better than it is these days. Although there's kind of a resurgence, but not as much for marketers. Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And then we also, in the Leaders book, I cover YouTube. But both books have a little bit about Facebook Live, but the Leaders book has how to do a YouTube channel for your team and also about blogging. So I don't go into like Snapchat or some of the other ones that haven't quite figured out how to make it easy to use as somebody who's promoting a business. So
you mentioned Facebook Live. What are you finding with Facebook Live is a tip or something that would help people when doing that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would say if you have not tried it yet, because you're scared, I was so chicken in my business to do video when YouTube was really popular. I sent my products to somebody else and asked her to demonstrate them, and she got to keep them for free. Because I was like, I know I have to get on YouTube, but I do not want to be on camera. So I know that feeling. If any of you are out there and feeling like you just can't imagine going on camera, you feel like you're going to look dumb or say something wrong or whatever, just do it, because there is no better way to connect to somebody. It's as if you're sitting right here in my living room looking only at me. It's like the best way to really build that trust and rapport that we want with people. And so if you need to, what I did was I started a Facebook group, which was a secret group just for me. And I just practiced in there. And then I could look at it after and thought, oh, that's not so bad. And then you can fiddle with the tools and the different settings and all that. Just really make yourself comfortable and then just go for it. Even if it's just a couple of minutes talking about how excited you are, or this is my first Facebook Live, everybody will come on and say you did a great job and it boosts your, confidence, and then you do it again. I'd say as much as possible, go on Facebook Live. The algorithm on Facebook itself likes the live, so you'll get some visibility, whether it's on your profile or your business page or something else. And just do it, because I think you'll be really pleasantly surprised at how much more engagement you'll get in your online presence when you do that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good information. I'm noticing a lot more of the top leaders are definitely using the live a lot, and they get a lot of attention. And I think you're right. If people are a little bit nervous about doing it, it's just a matter of jumping in and doing it. And I get a little bit nervous interviewing such a big celebrity like you. So
it's so funny, because all the things that I worried about going on, I mean, we're the same people on video as we are walking down. If you would go and walk into a store and somebody approaches you about, well, what's that name tag about? Like we talk to people in life. Why is it so hard? Because it's on camera. I find it as actually easier, because the eyeballs aren't like staring at me or chuckling or, all these things I imagine are not happening. So just get out there and do it. And you can plan, a couple of tips would be prepared, so you don't have to get up and leave to go grab something. Have yourself a water, maybe with a straw. So you just take a quick, a couple things I've seen on Facebook Live are really not professional. Like, don't sit there and eat a whole box of Cheez-Its while you're talking to people about your product. Don't have dirty clothes laying around in the background of your video. Don't, some people will, you're not there. You can see yourself before you hit the go live button. So don't go live and then fix your hair. That kind of thing drives me crazy. Another tip would be don't go online and just be staring, waiting for a few more people to get here. And I always liken things to what would you do in real life? Would you go into a networking meeting, for example, stand up at the front of the room because it's time to introduce yourself and just say, just waiting for a few more people to look at me? No, you just start talking. It gets people engaged. It teaches your audience that you're going to start right away. And that most of the people watch the replay anyway. So just get started. Maybe you don't want to give away your best stuff in the very beginning in case people do come on late, but have something prepared to talk about right away so that you're offering value immediately. And then those people who watch the replay are going to love it.
Right. Let me ask you this. When we got a lot of people that do this business full-time and a lot that do it part-time. A lot of people are squeezing in stuff around their lives. What about time management when it comes to doing this? Can you be effective in a certain amount of time when you have less time, I guess is best.
Yeah, that was always one of my big things, because when I started in the business, in direct sales, I was a mom. I had little kids. I had a 4-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, 4.5-year-old, and I was already really busy, right? Like, how am I going to do this? So I've always been very keen on finding ways to plan and to organize and to stay focused, so that when I'm with my kids, I'm 100% present. When I'm with my business, I'm 100% present. So I say that there's ways that you can do this in about 15 or 20 minutes a day, and then block it out in your planner. In fact, I love your product, the Playbook, because it gives people a way to stay accountable and put that in as one of your business building activities that you're going to do every day, and plan just literally 20 minutes a day per platform. So like, let's say you pick Facebook as your most important one, 20 minutes a day for Facebook. Let's say you decide you want to also do Instagram. Maybe that would be another 20 minutes. Maybe it doesn't. Like for me on Instagram, I post when I have something to talk about. I don't necessarily do it 1 or 2 times a day, but Facebook is something I want to make sure I do every day. And so I do this thing. It's called social media CPR. And it's kind of an easy way to remember the different things that you can do. So the C stands for commenting. So go through your news feed on whichever platform it is. It could be Pinterest or something else, right? Go through the news feed and find 3 to 5 things to comment on, where you're leaving a meaningful comment, adding some value, or answering a question, or adding your own advice or something like that, so that you're engaging with other people. It's social media. It's not get on and talk about how awesome you are and then get off, right? It's social. So comment on 3 to 5 things. Now, if you want to be really smart about it, you're going to do it with the people who you kind of want to build a deeper relationship with, not like stalking them and doing it like commenting on every single one of their things, but paying a little bit more attention to those people you want to keep, you want them to keep you in their radar, right? So commenting every day, 3 to 5 things. Then posting something once a day minimum. I say 1 to 3 times a day is great. I just do once a day on mine, and I get plenty of engagement and interaction. So I got other things to do. I don't want to be on Facebook all day long. So posting 1 time a day, ideally content that is something your audience would benefit from, whether or not they have your product or are going to even purchase your product. You want to serve them with information they can use, so that you're building that trust and rapport. So like, for example, if you sell, maybe your product line has skincare or weight loss or something like that, you think of things you can post and talk about that are related to that topic without requiring them to purchase in order to benefit. So maybe some fitness ideas or information about you've drank enough water, your skin looks better, or something like that that's helpful. And then the R stands for reply. And that just has to do with replying to people who've commented on your posts. It's not that, like, you don't go into a networking meeting and everybody, has a chance to introduce themselves and people say something to you. Don't just stare at them. You comment back. So it's, again, social. You want to have that engagement. So if somebody's either commented or they've asked you a question, go in and check for any notifications you need to reply to, private messages you need to reply to. So if you take care of those things in about 20 minutes a day, this is assuming you kind of already have a plan for what you might want to talk about on different days, then you can get it done. And I say, get on, get noticed, and get off, because we have other things to do in our business. Another thing people could use your planner for too is mapping out what I call like an editorial calendar. It can be as simple as, people like to do Motivational Monday, Tip Tuesday, or Team Tuesday. We Wednesday could be about the recruiting opportunity. Thursday could be, customer of the week or something like that. Like, have kind of a general plan for the types of, posts that you want to make sure you have at least one post about the opportunity every week, one post about the product. The other ones could all be, sharing tips and ideas, something like that. But plan those out, at least some general ideas. And then I keep a little notebook, and as I think of things to post about, I just jot them down so that I've got some ideas. And my book has a list of like 80 post ideas if you run out of ideas too.
Right. How important is spreading out the so-called lifestyle? Obviously, network marketing is somewhat about a lifestyle, and a lot of people can throw their opportunity up a little bit too much, and then people will be like, oh, geez, do I want to hear more about the skincare? I get it. It's great. Or the weight loss, whatever. And sometimes, like, being more generic, like you mentioned, talking maybe about an article you read about losing weight that's not pitching the product,
Right.
or even lifestyle, having a great vacation. Like, how do you, what's your recommendation on like percentage of how much should be about your product and how much should just be about you or your family or whatever?
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like on no matter which platform and no matter which spot, like if you're talking your personal profile versus a group versus a page, same thing goes. I have what I call a 911 code. It used to be when I first started teaching this, I'd say 80/20. A lot of people have heard of the 80/20 rule, but I think people are even more discerning now because what happens is if people are tired of hearing your stuff, they click off or they hide your post or they unfriend you. And those are all negative feedback on your profile or your page, your group, or your Instagram or your Pinterest that feeds into whether the algorithm is going to show your stuff. So the 911 stands for it's a proportion. In the course of it could be in the course of a week, it could be in the course of 2 weeks, it could be in the course of a day if you really have a lot to say. And that is 9 non-marketing posts to every one blatant promotional post, and then throw in one personal, casual, fun kind of post. And so what I mean by non-marketing, it isn't that it can't have anything to do with your product or your opportunity or your business, but it needs to be like you don't have to ask for the sale. So like, let's say you're talking about how I'm so excited I get to go to my son's soccer game today. I'm grateful that I get to have a flexible schedule, something like that. You're implying something about your business, but I'm not saying at the end of it, do you want this too? Here's where you can sign up, right?
Right.
So it's really, it's subtle. And I like to have people think about like, what would you say in real life? I'm in a social situation. Maybe I'm at, my husband's work party, or I'm at a play group, or maybe even a chamber of commerce meeting or something like that. We don't just go in with a big flashy sign and say, buy my stuff, join my team. We don't go collect the business cards. You going to join yet? How many of these are you going to buy? Did you buy these yet? Get out your credit card. Like, we don't talk like that. But for some reason on social media, people do that. I think just because it's easy, like you're excited, you want to tell people about your opportunity. It's changed your life. Your products are changing your life. You want everybody to know about it and have the benefit that you've had, but they don't need to hear about it every single day. But there are ways that you can do that where you're serving something that they would be interested in without being salesy. And then the one promotional post can be the time where you're like blatantly asking for the sale, talking about your specials, sharing a post from your company's page onto yours, adding your own link. Now, sometimes you have a lot to say, like especially conference season, everybody comes back with just a ton of stuff they want to share. Just balance it with the non-selling kind of posts, or put them into like a multiple image post where you can put several things into one post so that people aren't getting bombarded with a bunch of different posts. And this is another way that Facebook Live works really well, because that's one post, but you can talk about a lot of stuff in that one post. And then throwing in the one personal or casual or funny kind of thing that has nothing at all to do with anything is really engaging. And so I like to say there's sometimes you could, especially for us women, I don't know how it is for you guys, but if you get a new haircut or a new pair of shoes or something, you post about that, or you say, what do you guys think? Or you go to a store and you take a picture, which one do you think I should buy? And it's like nothing to do with your business. You'll get 50 comments on that post where maybe you got none the rest of the week, and you're like, oh, I guess there are people out there. Because people will engage in those personal kinds of things. And what's great about it is, because of the way the algorithm works, after you do a really engaging post like that, there's like a ripple effect for a few days afterwards where all of a sudden you get Facebook's attention and they start showing your post more. And I keep talking about Facebook, but you guys should know too that Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn, they all have algorithms just like Facebook's does also. So not every one of your followers is seeing every one of your posts. So you want to make sure you're adding enough value, getting those comments and interaction like that, so that you're teaching the algorithm that you are somebody who posts things that people want to hear.
Yeah, all that. I love all that stuff. The 911 is, like you said, it used to be maybe a little bit less, but yeah, 911 is a good one. I think the ones that even ask the questions, right? I just, I had a friend of mine just posted today. We're all the same age. He's posting a lot of us that were in the same age in high school that are about ready to turn 50. And he posted something like, what do you guys think about, about turning 50 if you have or if you haven't? And there was a lot of engagement. There was a lot of people saying, oh, whatever they were feeling. And it was just that question got people thinking about it. And so those types of posts where you ask a question, opinion, or something seem to get some good attention.
Anytime you can get somebody to relate to something that you're saying or touch an emotion in some way, you're going to get that response. And then you kind of start getting that crowd mentality. Everybody wants to jump in, and those kinds of posts can go viral. And what's really cool about this also is on Facebook in particular, if you get likes on a post, once somebody has liked a post, you can click on the list of people, like it'll say Karen Clark and 25 other people like this. You click on that little link and there will be a little invite button to invite them to like your page. And so what happens when these kind of go, it's not viral like in the thousands and thousands of cents, but the way that I mean is my existing followers are commenting and then their friends start jumping in on it. You can actually start getting new people in your circle that way when you have those kinds of posts. And the other thing is those kinds of posts are more likely to get shared. So like I'm following you and I see that post about who's getting ready to turn 50 and everybody's talking about their aches and pains and all that, right? So you share that to your wall because it's kind of fun and see where everybody else is in your Facebook. Then those people start liking and commenting on it. And the average Facebook person has, I think, 300 friends. So even though that doesn't sound like a big number, if you have 300 people on your business page, each of those people has 300 friends. I mean, we are the original social network. This is how network marketing works, right? My friend tells their friend, their friends tell their friends, and so on and so on and so on. That is what happens in social media. And it's so easy to do when you're offering up content that people want to engage with. It's just like with the product. You have a good product, people will talk about it. You don't even hardly have to tell them to do that. So I think it's really an ideal platform, an ideal technology for us to be using to be marketing these kinds of businesses.
That function that you said where you can click on the likers and invite, is that only for business pages or does that work for?
Okay, it actually, if your business page is connected, if you have a group that is connected to your business page. So this is kind of in the last few months feature where now your business page can administer a group. If your business page is an admin of your group, it works in a group also. It doesn't work on a personal profile, but you will get those people that like it and you can discover them and you might want to reach out to them and friend them. I'm not a big one on like friending random people, but if they like your content and they like what you're doing, you might want to start up a conversation to see if it's something they would be interested in.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. What are what would you say is the difference between your two? You have the two books. One's the one that came out first that's now been recently updated, and then the Leaders one. What's someone going to get out of the Leaders one that they may not get out of the other one, or why,
Yeah, so the video content for sure, I just barely touch on it in the first book. So the second book goes into a deeper dive on how to do a YouTube channel. Whether or not you're a leader, you can be doing YouTube. It's really, really powerful. It also goes into Facebook Live a little bit more, but it's written more for the leader. So it tells a little bit about my leader story, and then it talks about how you can support your team and do online training. In fact, there is a whole format for how to hold an online meeting with Facebook Live or with Zoom webinar. A lot of people use Zoom for webinars. It's the same format, but the idea is to get people in front of you and to be able to have some of your other team members join in. So supporting your team either through groups or other platforms, training your team with different training ideas. The video is another big one. And I also have what I call tips from the trenches, where I have other leaders in the industry that have chimed in with a page or two of their own tips of what works for them. There's one about messenger bots, which is kind of a new thing that people are really interested in and how to use that. And there's a lot of little tips like that in there on how to start different challenges, contests, incentives, and things like that with your team. So it's geared toward leaders. But I will say, I've always said you can be a leader of one, meaning yourself. If you have that mindset of really growing your business, it will happen if you start acting like a leader and start thinking about these different things. So I wouldn't say it's restricted only to leaders, because even if you start getting your first team member, you're already modeling for that person. And some of the things like that are included in there too.
I do want to say, if you're one of the people that are watching this live and you have a question, jump in and throw that in if there's something that you would want Karen to answer. And then if you're on here and you want to do that, and talk a little bit about a couple of things that you might not want to do. I know a lot of the stuff that's preached in network marketing obviously is, spamming and stuff like that. And maybe I didn't even know Facebook jail still existed, but when we were talking earlier, you said it still does. So some of the new people in network marketing may need to know some of these things, especially if they're getting started and they don't want to do something that could put them out of commission, so to speak.
Right. Especially if you're really counting on social media as one of your marketing avenues. I've always said it shouldn't be your only one. Even companies that say you can do this all on Facebook, they still do better when they pick up the phone once in a while or go meet somebody for coffee or take it offline in private message or texting or whatever. So, but if you're relying on this as a way to really meet a lot of people and you're in Facebook jail, and if you're not familiar with it, it means you're basically restricted from using something on Facebook for a certain amount of time, and you never really know how long it's going to be. But let's say 2 weeks, all of a sudden you can't post anything. You could be out of business for 2 weeks, right? If that's really something that you're relying on. So it's something to pay attention to. And I do have a whole chapter on Facebook jail in my book, but here are some of the most recent because it changes all the time. Facebook is like Google. Once somebody figures out how to game the system, they shut them down. So there are things that people are doing to spam. And unfortunately, even though we might have permission from our customers to be telling them about the business all the time, Facebook can sometimes see that as spam. So you have to be really careful. And if you get put into the Facebook jail, there's nothing you can do about it except wait it out, unfortunately. So a couple things that we've been seeing lately are copying and pasting are getting people into trouble. So if you think about like, what do spammers do? They create bots or programs that allow them to post to many people all at the same time. And when you paste something, all of that text appears immediately, right? I'm not typing it in. So it looks like you're a spammer if all of a sudden a bunch of text appears. So instead of looking at your profile and seeing you're really a legitimate person, they just automatically block you from doing that. So you don't want to copy and paste it. Sometimes you might need to copy a link, right? You don't want to type in the whole link, but the rest of the message or the post is typed in. I know a lot of people, maybe they'll get scripts or ideas of what to post from their upline or even their company, and it's really tempting to copy and paste. Don't do that. First of all, I really feel like you should add your own personality and really customize things. But even if you want to model after something that somebody else has done and you're putting it in your own words and you decide I'm going to write it up in Word first, don't copy and paste it. Just look at it and type it in, because Facebook will block you from messaging or posting if you copy and paste too much. Another thing that's getting people into trouble is starting a second account. This is really common where people will say, I don't want my friends and my family to be bombarded with my business stuff. So I'm just going to start my middle name is Marie. So I could do a Karen M. Clark account and then a Karen Clark account. And then I'll just keep those friends separate. Well, Facebook doesn't allow you to have a duplicate account. Every human being on the planet is only allowed to have one account. You can start a business page that's a separate entity and just don't post on your personal profile if you don't want people to see that. And my business page is in my name. So it really kind of looks like it's a personal profile anyway. It doesn't have to be that like overwhelming. Another thing that you could do, hi Jill, is you can create what's called friend lists. So if you go to your Facebook homepage, on the left side, there is a thing that says friends. I think it might even say friend list, at least says friends. But it takes you to, it's facebook.com/bookmarks/friends, I believe. And from there, you can categorize your friends. So I have a group called family, and I have another group called buddies. That's not business buddies, but like friends, right? I have another group that's, parents of my kids. My kids' friends' parents, right? So when I'm posting something about my business, on the bottom of the Facebook little window where you post something, you can select who you want to see it. If you want it to be public or friends only, or you can say another list or custom. So I can either make it go only to my business contacts or exclude it from my family so that they're not so overwhelmed. So that's one of the things that can help you and instead of creating a second account. I don't want you guys to create second accounts, because let's say you did that. And let's say you even maxed out, you get 5,000 friends on a personal account. Let's say you use that to build your business and it's going great, and Facebook finds out and you get shut down. you are literally, there's no recourse because you were breaking their rule. They're not going to listen to your story about how you had to do this and why you did it. You are not going to you don't even get to talk to a person. You have to start over. And if you had any business pages or groups associated with that account, they all disappear also. I know somebody who got hers, she did this, and believe it or not, she was somebody who was teaching social media. So I warned her, I said, you are going to get, and this was like probably 6 or 7 years ago before it was really more of a problem. I said, you're going to lose it. And sure enough, she did. She lost everything and had to start all over. So those are probably the two biggest things. And again, anytime somebody hides your posts or marks it as spam, those all count as negative feedback, either on your profile, your page, wherever you're posting. So you want to make sure you're posting things where people are going to be like, wow, that was great. You don't want to annoy people. So think about, the golden rule. How would you like to be treated? What kinds of things do you like to read? How would you benefit from somebody else's post, and do those kinds of things? So you're just decreasing the risk of you getting marked as spam or hidden. Like Facebook can even tell when you don't stop in the news feed, and when you're scrolling and read something, that's negative feedback. Like it knows you're just scrolling through quickly. It's like, oh, that person must not have been interested in that content because they didn't even pause their scrolling to read it. So you got to think like that, computer.
Do you find, obviously there's a lot of politics stuff, and we won't get into the sides of that, but you find posting about stuff that potentially is controversial, potentially could hurt you? Obviously you could lose friends, and does losing friends become a negative for you?
It can, not necessarily in the algorithm, unless if they do it on a post where you can first hide the post and then you can report it. And once you hit the report button, Facebook says, here are some things you can do. You could unfriend the person, you could block the person, you could, do that. Once you do those kind of things, those definitely count negatively against your profile. If you just go to their page and decide you're going to unfriend them or unfollow them, that's not so bad. But definitely the controversial issues. So again, going back to what would you do in real life? If you were in a situation, especially knowing that even though this is your home, your personal profile, you get to be whoever you want, you get to express yourself however you want. You're still a reflection of your business. Everything that you do, like, you wouldn't go walk into Walmart in your sweats with your hair in the curlers and wearing a shirt that has your company logo on it, because somebody's going to say, oh, I didn't know. And then next thing you know, they think that's what people look like in that business. So on social media, you're a reflection of your business, even on your personal profile. So you want to make sure that you're using good manners. So like you wouldn't go into a Chamber of Commerce meeting or even a backyard barbecue and just start spouting off politics when you knew there was mixed company there and potential prospects and customers and that kind of stuff. You also have to be careful on Facebook, because even commenting on other people's statuses, if they're public, so like CNN, let's say, they come out with a news story and you're like fired up, you're mad about this thing, and you're going to go rant on their comments about how you feel. Well, because that thing is public, there's a potential that your friends, your connections will see that you commented and read all of what you said too. So it's almost like, your private world is now public when you're using social media. So I always look for that little globe icon that means something's public, and I might hold back a little bit depending on what it is I have to say. Maybe I'll private message the person if I really do want to talk to them about it, but just be aware of those kind of things. And you might be alienating people depending on what it's kind of controversial. Some people say, well, but that's who I am. If they don't like me, that's their problem, right?
Right.
That's a good point. And
you could attract like individuals, who are people that you may want to do more business with, people that are like-minded. So I guess what about the fact that you like the posts that get a lot of engagement? So if you do the post about the gun laws or whatever today, and that gets a bunch of people talking about it, does that help your Facebook profile, even though it's a controversial topic?
Yes, so it can. I would just be careful and do it more like, how do you feel about this? So I'm not giving my opinion. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm not ranting or, preaching or anything like that. I'm just bringing up the topic. And now you have to be ready to deal with the comments if they start fighting in the comments. But it is your home. It is your profile and you get to control it. If you need to hide comments, sometimes I'll have to do that because this is still a reflection of me. And now my friends are a reflection of me because of what they're getting into in this. But it can definitely help to have. Now, I would probably start with something a little less controversial, Pepsi versus Coke, or something like that, where you can get people arguing about that, but it's not hitting too close to home, right? That kind of thing.
Right. So who was the greatest TV dad or something like that, right? Or something.
Right. People have all kinds of opinions, and people love to be able to give their input on those things.
Yeah. I think I've had to break up some, verbal fist fights on some of my posts. It's like the two people didn't know each other, and all of a sudden they're in an argument, and it's like, whoa, guys, I like both of you, and you're actually both pretty cool, so don't hate each other on my page.
I've had that problem because my dad is pretty opinionated, and he'll comment on my stuff, and people don't realize that's my dad you're fighting with. Like, no. So then you kind of have to be diplomatic about, how we are in business, especially those of you that are leaders, how to say things in a way that kind of diffuses things and let's turn it to the positive. Isn't it great that we live in a country where we can express ourselves? Let's keep it clean, or something like that, kind of be, diffuse it as much as you can.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you much longer, but let's go to maybe one last thing. And that's, one of your home run tips or whatever that you would maybe finish up one of your live talks or that you would give out as one of your top things that can really help, this network marketing community.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's going back to the focusing on the relationship building. One of the things I always say is to think about social media as it would be in real life. I've said that a few times today, but think about how social media can be about connecting with people, not collecting people. A lot of people get caught up in the numbers and they're like, oh, I need to get to 500. It's not just like in your team. Wouldn't you rather have 5 superstars than 50 people who really don't want to be there? It's like we want the quality over the quantity. So don't worry about if you're just beginning or maybe your page doesn't have a whole lot of people in it or your group doesn't have a whole lot of people. It's about truly connecting and seek out ways that you can actually serve and connect with those people.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Karen, give us I know you created a code for your books for the High Achievers community here. What's the how would they go about it if they want to grab your books and hear more about Karen Clark, and maybe they're leaders in another company and want you to come and teach their group or engage in any other way?
Absolutely. So my website is My Business Presence. And it's presence like online presence, not like the gifts you give out at Christmas time. mybusinesspresence.com. And if you go up on the website, so there's all kinds of information about my speaking and all that. So if any of you do know people or companies that are looking for teaching a workshop on social media, I would love to be invited. But there's a shop tab at the top. And in there are my books. I have a couple of online courses. You can use the code PLAYBOOK. It can be capital or lowercase, just Playbook, and you'll get 25% off anything in my shop.
Awesome. All right. That's great. I'm glad. What a good discount. And both those books are great. I grabbed the first one when I met Karen live, and just some good content, great information, especially for this profession. I like that it's niched for this profession because there's so many women that are getting into this on a daily basis. I mean, it's a growing profession. While some are retiring from it, there's thousands more coming in, and they need to know these great strategies. So I appreciate you coming on, Karen, and I appreciate you giving a discount to our folks. And we'll see, hopefully a lot of these women will grab your books and learn more.
Yeah. That sounds great. I really appreciate the opportunity. And if anybody wants to, you can connect with me on my Facebook business page, which will be on that website also, because I share a daily tip. I almost forget to do the promotional post half the time because I have so much information to share. So you'll learn something new every day if you follow me.
All right. And I'll have, Karen, why don't you, on our page, you can post your links in the comments too.
Great.
At the end of the broadcast so they can follow you there and get to where they need to go. All right.
That sounds good. All right.
Okay, thanks again, Karen. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.